Hi, I'm Steve Rosales, and welcome to another edition of Belmont Journal, Chat with the Chair. Today is Thursday, November 6th, 2025, and with me today is the chair of our esteemed school committee here in the town of Belmont, Meg Moriarty. Meg, nice to see you again.
Nice
You're a
to
little
see
too
you
far.
too, Steve.
I'll give you a wave because it's too far to shake your hand over there.
That's true.
Hand's not that long. Well, welcome again. You've never been shy about coming in and withstanding my blistering interrogation.
It's been a couple of years. Maybe next year there'll be somebody new.
You or me, maybe both. Anyway, first of all, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
It's tough. I was in the high school just the other day, and it was like lunchtime, and it's a choreographed. How can I put it? I guess it's organized dysfunction or mayhem, and by that I mean there's kids flying here and kids flying there, and they're going into the lunchroom and they're running around. The bells are ringing, but it all seems to work. And then in 10 minutes, it's all nice and quiet. They apparently get where they need to be. So it's quite a ballet they got down there.
I think so. I think that that I would have to, give a nod to our district leadership and administration and even the food service workers in that case, the people on the ground who do that work. We are really lucky here in Belmont to have as many employees who are as effective as they are with our students.
Well, even the cafeteria, I mean, you have to walk through it. So it was lunchtime, and the stuff that was coming out, it was a lot better than sort of the mystery meat with the scoop of the ice cream scoop of the potatoes that would you get on your plate. I think they had Spanish rice, they had veggie stuff, they had quinoa, they had salad bar.
Yeah,
I'm saying, holy cow.
Our food services director is amazing, and she tries to, she's brought in a few grants. She makes connections with local farmers and has brought in a chef who is really dedicated to a diverse palette of foods, and I know they've been working also with our younger schools also to start to diversify and provide more nutritious food that appeals to those students as well. So I've seen, since I've been on the school committee, a big change in the focus on what we are providing for school meals to our students. I'm not sure every student loves the food all the time, but I'm not sure. I don't know that any student does, but it is definitely a wide variety and nutritious and wholesome food.
Well, as I saw kids coming out with their trays, and I mean, it looked pretty appetizing. Yeah. And as I said, I think they had some type of Latin type flavor, and then I think they had an Asian dish, and they had the chicken patty, and then they had the quintessential Friday pizza day or whatever that they'd always have.
Yeah, they do have all that. My son loves the pho. That's his favorite meal when it comes out.
The pho, the Thai, the soup, the noodle soup.
Yeah.
We didn't have noodle soup back in
No,
my
I
day.
didn't either.
Anyway, well, let's get the show started. So it's the first week of November. School's been in session, 2 months?
Yep.
So, all right, we've settled into the routine. How's it going thus far?
So there's a lot of good things happening and a lot to talk about. When our superintendent came in, and she's in her third year this year, the district did not at the time have a strategic plan. And so she developed a 3-year strategic plan. We are in the second year of that. Mm-hmm. And so the district goals this year are based on that strategic plan. So it's really helpful to have that in place. In terms of what those goals drive, it drives the work that's being done, as well as eventually the budget and where the resources go. So it's a very grounded process when you have that type of strategic plan. I think one of the most exciting aspects of the strategic plan that they're working on this year as one of the goals is around multiple pathways for graduation. So Belmont has done an excellent job and continues to do a great job of providing courses for students who are, targeting 4-year colleges, top-tier colleges. But we also know that we have students who are interested in other paths for themselves, and that has not been a big focus at the high school. And so we are trying to work in other types of pathways for students who might have other interests. And
Such as?
yeah, so an example of that might be a student who is really interested in going into some technical field. And we don't have a lot of resources, and we don't have a lot of money to develop new courses and what have you, but we actually have a lot of offerings that if a student is aware of those offerings can help build the skills that they might need for a more technical field. And so this would be something where a guidance counselor could inform a student. Students will be made more aware of this and know what courses are available. One fantastic opportunity that is going to be available for our students who might be interested in something like this is Belmont Media Center now will have a space in our middle high school and will be there and can work with students and with teachers. So more of those type of resources. We also have engineering rooms in our high school. We have technical visual arts types of classes for students. And then, your traditional classes, which are maybe math and physics, or classes that are geared toward technical fields. And maybe those teachers now start to work in more awareness of the alternative fields that are out there for students to pursue. So it's really an opportunity for district administration and educators to work together to think about how we can promote different avenues for students who are interested in fields that might not require, a four-year degree.
Okay, well, that I appreciate those comments, and that's exciting to hear. That's geared, well, I guess from your answer, it seems to be geared probably toward the high school students.
That's correct.
Is there any similar type of thing? Are the goals for the elementary, and I don't know what they call it, the upper elementary? I mean, they keep shifting. I was Winbrook K through 6 back in the day, 7, 8, and 9 junior high, and then 10, 11, and 12 was the high school. But it's nowhere near that anymore.
Right.
So, are there any similar type of conceptual things going on down in what I'll call the lower grades?
Right. So the pathways would be certainly a goal that's more geared at the high school level. But we also have, through the strategic plan and through goals, have touch points with the younger grades. And that's really around building the foundational skills that students would need to pursue anything that they want in high school. So we've been extremely fortunate through the override and now through an additional allocation of funding from town meeting to bring in a new math curriculum last year, and now we'll be bringing in a new English curriculum. So these are areas where the district has not had the opportunity to do a lot of investment in the past decade or so, and they're really needed to help support our educators and support our students in the learning. So I think that while the pathways is geared more toward the high school, in order for students to even have the foundational skills to be taking advantage of the high school courses, we need to ensure that they're getting what they need from the youngest grades. And so we're focusing really on the English and the math skills at those grade levels.
So I don't pretend in any way, shape, or form to have any expertise in education. But you mentioned you have as of last year, new math curriculum, new English curriculum coming in. I think we just discussed it at town meeting. Why do you need that? Was there something wrong with the old, or how is it different, or how is it improved, or what was wrong with the old? That's a lot of questions, but it's sort of variation of the same thing. Why do you need the new when you had something that apparently had worked in the past?
Right. Well, I think you can take that from different avenues. One is the world is always changing, right?
That's
and
true.
People need different skills
That's a
than what we
given.
needed back then. So there's that aspect of it. There's also, DESE, our Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, develops benchmarks that all students are supposed to be able to meet. And those change over time. In fact, they're going through a process right now of looking to see if new benchmarks really need to be developed. So outdated curriculum may not actually be helping educators to teach to the benchmarks that are necessary. So that's another reason why you want to make sure that you have updated curriculum. And then there is education research. And so what we know about how students learn changes as we had the opportunity to do more research and learn more about how kids learn. And those findings are then used to help develop curriculum to help students learn the way that we know students learn best. So when I've been in the math, seeing how they teach math in the classrooms now, it is much more student-centered. Students are up and moving around. They might be working in small groups, and then the teacher calls them back, to do a lesson with them there. They might be working a little bit one-on-one. So there are different ways that they learn, certainly than from what I learned when I was a student
I'm sure
growing
when I
up.
learned.
So I think that, especially for an educator who's been teaching for 10 or 15 years, that also means using new methodology. And so when you bring in a new curriculum, there's usually some coaching, and also the curriculum just helps educators to teach in a different way as well. So again, I am not the, our assistant superintendent would be able to speak to the nitty-gritty of all of this, but this is what the school committee is being told.
I'm not looking for the nitty-gritty. I just was, my initial thought would be math is math, numbers are numbers, and while content of English and language and structure can change, numbers are the numbers. It's just a question of, I guess, how they're taught. So
sure. I'm sure
Anyway.
that like a professor or a researcher at MIT might be able to tell us about how things have changed in that field as well. So,
well, there's no. So you touched on something. So developing, I think you said the goal, developing standards. So the MCAS has now been long gone. It used to be for a long time, I guess, a measuring stick of some sort of success in various subjects and topics. But that seems to be, it was outvoted, right? We don't have that anymore. And so what are the schools doing about it? Or what is going to replace it? Or is it just a free-for-all?
yeah, no, great question. So in the immediate, it has been left to the local community to, come up with their graduation requirements, a certificate of determination, a CD. And so last spring, it was really left to the local community to decide. And so at the time, the school committee had voted on graduation requirements for last year that did not include the MCAS, but that did include an array of coursework that mapped to essentially a sophomore level of high school, because that's really where the MCAS we're testing at as well. Since then, DESE has now come in and said we need something more, that we know that all districts are using, and more standardized. And so they have now listed the coursework that needs to be completed. So we have to make sure that we have courses that meet those standards. Mm-hmm. And so we are working on that right now. Now, a local community could choose to still use the MCAS. I have not heard of anybody that is, or use other benchmarks for graduation, as long as you are also including these courses that the state now says are required, such as algebra, geometry, 1 year of, I think it's U.S. history. So there are courses that we have to include, and then we could choose to actually include other things if we wanted to. Whether or not there'll be a state standardized test, I don't know. I mean, the DESE is in conversations and has a working group looking at that. I think it's important to remember that in Massachusetts, we are actually one of the only states that has in our Constitution, right, the right to a free and appropriate education. That is part of the Massachusetts state constitution. And the state needs to make sure that that is happening. And so I will not be surprised if they come up with something that all districts have to use, because they need to be able to be held accountable for what they have to do.
So if it's a free-for-all, there's no way to, or what I'll call, everybody makes up their own
Right, exactly.
way to do things or measure things. There's no apples to apples way to compare these things. So with these courses, these standardized courses or these required core courses that you referred to, is that enough of a basis to have an apples to apples type comparison at the end of the year, or is it just you take these courses and then various school committees or bodies decide how to interpret that data.
Right. I think that is exactly, what you're saying is accurate, that it's hard to know if what is happening in one classroom is the same as what's happening in another classroom. And if every educator can come up with their own tests, you don't even know if those really can be compared apples to apples. I do think that the state is trying to take that into consideration. I mean, being able to compare when it comes to student outcomes is, I think, part of ourselves holding us accountable to make sure that we're giving all students what they need. And that goes back to the new ELA curriculum, for example, that we just brought in, Steve, is that right now at each one of our elementary schools, educators could be using different things in their classroom and teaching different types of lessons. So from a school committee standpoint, it's very difficult to compare the outcomes of one elementary school to another one, even just within our district. And so having a standardized ELA curriculum at the elementary schools will allow that to happen more, so that we make sure that all students are really getting all the skills that they need. So that's an example, I think, of where that apples to apples comparison is really useful for holding ourselves accountable to providing for students.
Okay. Well, everything seems to be, and you've touched on it, and I think everybody realizes it, you run a system to do anything, it costs money.
Yes.
And these are challenging fiscal times, not only for Belmont, but for, I would suggest, the majority of surrounding towns, if not all the towns, cities and towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They're just tough fiscal
Absolutely.
times with very limited amount of money in the pie, and various interests carving out or wanting bigger pieces of the pie. All for probably legitimate reasons, but the pie is only so big. So, you've been in the midst of negotiation. The school committee's been negotiating with various unions, the teachers' unions and maybe whatever the other unions associated with the school system, for new contracts. And they've seemed to be protracted. And, I see marches, I'm not particularly fond of some of the tactics and the optics I see on behalf of the teachers' union, but be that as it may, what can you tell us about the status or how that's going, without, of course, violating any type of collective bargaining? There's been some stuff out there in public. You've published some things for the public consumption, which seem to indicate that the Belmont teachers, by and large, have the highest pay rate currently and the least amount of days to work and the shortest workday. So compared to what I'll call, or what everybody calls the comparables around, and I'll leave it to you for the accuracy of that. But so what can you tell us about the status of what's happening there, given the current climate that isn't going to change? I don't see huge infusions of money coming in.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, especially about, we have to take everybody into account, and Belmont residents have always been extremely supportive of the schools and providing funding for the schools. We passed an override just a couple of years ago, which really has been very helpful to the schools. I also would say that Belmont residents do a tremendous amount of fundraising for the schools, whether that's our Foundation for Belmont Education, our PTOs, DARE, people, parents, grandparents want to support our students and our schools, and so we have a tremendous amount of support from those residents. That being said, we have a finite amount of tax dollars that come in from those residents, and there may be, some who would want to pay more, but there's also quite a few residents who are tapped right now, and I do think you're right. I think that people across Massachusetts, people across the country are feeling this. So the school committee has a finite pot of funding that we have to work with. And so we have been working within that amount of dollars during these negotiations with our teachers union. So our teachers union consists of 4 units, really. So the educators unit, an administrative assistant unit, we have a directors and assistant principals unit, and then we have our paraprofessionals and classroom aides unit. So that's who we are negotiating with right now. Negotiations have been going on for over a year. The school committee really has had 2 major priorities for these negotiations. One of those priorities has been to try to add some additional learning time to our school day. So we are not asking for an extended work day. Our educators per contract have a 7-hour work day. We are asking for, within that 7-hour workday, to add 15 minutes of instructional time. And so that still fits actually within that 7-hour workday, because, to your point, our school days are quite short here in Belmont. And so we are asking for that additional time for instruction. And then the other goal that the school committee has had throughout these negotiations is to be able to maintain the current staffing that we do have. So we've heard a lot about large class sizes, large caseloads, workload from our union. If we exceed the amount of dollars that we have in our budget by offering additional salary than what we already have, then the likelihood of that is we will have to make reductions in student programming and in staffing, which will only add to caseloads and class sizes and workload. So we are really trying to be responsive to their complaints really around workload and class sizes by saying we don't want to have to make any reductions. And so we really want to be able to maintain all of our staff. And we value everyone who works in this district. I mean, we started today by talking about how fantastic the school is being run, and that's really thanks to the educators and everybody who's working in that building. So we want to be able to hold on to them for the life of this contract. So that's how we've approached the contract negotiations as a school committee, is by making sure that what we're offering is as competitive as we can be, as well as allowing for a sustainable budget over the next few years.
So, well, it's been going on for a while, apparently, with glacial success or lack thereof. So I know that it was in the article, I think in The Voice, that the school department, a school committee, requested mediation, and that was opposed and ultimately denied, I guess, or not, didn't allow to go to state-run mediation. Why do you think the union didn't want to try mediation?
I don't know.
Why wouldn't you want to have someone?
That question.
Well, okay, then that I don't know. I'm not trying to be.
Yeah, I'm happy
not trying
to
to be
speak from
fair,
the
but it
school
seems to
committee.
me that you've been at it for over a year.
Yes.
It's probably over money. That would be my assumption. I don't
Yes.
know, but it seems to be from your public stuff that's out there. It's compensation and it's money, and 70 plus or 75%, however you want to divide the pie of the town budget, goes in some way towards schools, and leaving only a lesser amount for police, fire, and everything else in town, which is also strapped. So one would think, at least I would think, that okay, maybe somebody to help grease the process or take some of the angst out or of the conflict out, if you would, and be a mediator, might try to resolve the problem. But apparently
Right.
not. I guess I was just wondering why would they oppose that? But if you
Yeah.
can't answer
Well, there
that's
has-
okay. I'm just asking.
There has been progress made. I mean, to that sense, we have over 70 tentative agreements at this point. So the school committee has made a lot of changes to the current contract that are really favorable to the union. One of those is around parental leave. We are now offering to pay 10 days of their parental leave. Like I said, there's over 70 tentative agreements that we've made. You can imagine if you run a business or an organization and you're asked to make 70 changes every 3 years, it's a lot for a district to do that. Some of the other proposals that are on the table still from the union are just not good for our students, so we're not going to agree to those.
Okay.
And at some point, we also have to say, we've made 70 agreements, that are favorable to the union, and this is only one contract. So every contract we can try to build and we can try to make progress and improvements, but we're not going to be able to do everything in one contract. So we feel like we're at the point right now where it is coming down to the money. It has come down to salary, and we are stuck there. We don't have additional money. They want more money, and we don't have any. So I've always felt that when you are stuck, you can bring in somebody to help you get unstuck. But unfortunately, they did not see it clearly in as positive a way as what the school committee saw it. So,
all right, I'm only expressing what many people in the grocery store and around the water coolers of town, what I hear when I travel around. That seems to be the
yeah. Well, I think we saw it as a positive way. We thought it was a positive way to move forward.
Well, good luck. So. Okay, so continue on.
We will continue.
What can I say?
Yep.
Hopefully you'll get some resolution. All right, we got a few. So, all right, despite all this gloom and doom and there's no money and things, the U.S. News and World Report, okay, whether you like the ranking and their methodology or whether they don't, I will commend you and the school department, because out of 24,000 plus high schools in the universe being ranked, Belmont High School is 259th nationally. We are 9th in the state. We got 2 elementary schools, number 3 and 6 in the state, according to that national. They've been around for a long time. Boston Magazine may not have us as high. I don't know their methodology or not, but I guess it's a compliment. High quality, by whatever metric, a legitimate metric, for limited amount of dollars, with beautiful new building and a highly compensated and professional staff. So congratulations to you for that, and for the audience. Yes, you may all have complaints. We all have about something, but overall, at least by that metric, it's a very high quality system. And
I think we do have I think we have a very high quality system. I think we have a very high quality superintendent right now leading the district, and an amazing community that really values education. And I think there are areas where we have not focused as much as we should have, and we can do a better job at those. And I look forward to trying to make improvements in areas where we still need to improve.
All right. Well, we got about, I don't know, we got a minute left. So, happy school news. Lots of happenings. We got tournament time. What's going on in the schools? What do you got to report that's good?
Yeah, well, I hear that there are some great sports teams still out there. We've got, I know our field hockey team is one of them.
They've advanced 2 or 3 rounds.
That's right, and our girls soccer team has been doing a great job. I know that, swim and dive, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but I
Performing arts, we got some fall play coming?
We do. We have a fall play coming, and I went to their Broadway night, which they already had, and I'm just amazed at the talent and effort that those students put into those events. I know that we've had many also at the younger schools, some concerts already. So we had a Halloween concert at the high school. There's a lot of opportunities for students, many different clubs at the high school. My students just started 9th grade, and people always said to me, you'll see there's more opportunities as kids get older, and I'm floored by the number of opportunities that are available to the students at the high school. So,
well,
yeah.
We will we're out of time. I'd like to keep it going, but maybe we'll have you invite you back. We'll end on a positive note.
Maybe I can come back with some positive news.
Well, I hope so. Come on. There we go. We're reaching across. This big table's too big. But anyway, thank you. That was Meg Moriarty. She is the chair of Belmont's school committee, and I want to thank her very much. And I want to thank Matt Simonelli and the intern Jenna Murphy, who are in the back running the cameras and making me look good. So until next time, I'm Steve Rosales. This is Belmont Journal. Take care.